Hello and welcome back, dear students. Wish you all stay happy, healthy, and safe at home and do your studies regularly and properly. I'm Yojna Parak, and today we are going to see a new chapter for Standard 9 from your English textbook, Moment. That is your supplementary reader. From that book, we are going to see fourth chapter. Name of this chapter is In the Kingdom of Fools, written by A.K. Ramanujan. This is a Kannada folk tale from A.K. Ramanujan's Folktale from India. Let us see what is there in this chapter. Here, there is a kingdom who is ruled by an idiot king and an idiot minister. Both want to do something different from others. So they decided that they will change the day into night and night into day. And all the things there will worth only one rupee. That is a currency. You can count it as 1 rupee. So in this way, they wanted to make equal and same worth for everything. And they wanted to change the nature day into night and night into day, but they cannot change the nature, so they changed the nature of their people. In this way, they wanted to make their kingdom different from other rulers. So this shows that how idiots they were. Now we are going to see in this chapter that how those people survive in their rule and whether that rule came to an end or continued and how it was done. So without any further delay, let us begin. In the kingdom of fools, both the king and the minister were idiots. They didn't want to run things like other kings. So they decided to change night into day and day into night. They were idiot. Idiot that means the people who are not intelligent. What they wanted to rule the kingdom in different way from other kings. So they decided that they will change night into day and day into night, which has no importance. But still, just to make it different, they decided to do so. They ordered that everyone should be awake at night, till their fields, and run their business only after dark, and go to bed as soon as the sun came up. Anyone who disobeyed would be punished by death. Till that means to cultivate land for farming. So the rule was made that everyone will have to run their business at night and will have to awake at night. After dark, they can run their business, and as soon as the sun came up, they all will have to go to bed. And anyone who will disobey the rule will be punished with death. So, whatever works they had to cultivate their field or to run any kind of business, they had to do in the night or after dark only. And they will have to sleep in the morning as soon as the sun came up. And if anyone would disobey this rule made by the king, will have to be punished by death. Now, it does not make any difference or it does not have any meaning to change the day into night or night into day. It will have no good impact on that. But still, just to make the kingdom different from other kingdoms, he decided to do so. And the people did as they were told for fear of death. The king and the minister were delighted at the success of their project. One day, a guru and his disciple arrived in the city. It was a beautiful city. It was broad daylight, but there was no one about. Everyone was asleep, not a mouse stirring. Even the cattle had been taught to sleep by day. So this rule was not only made for the people, also for animals, birds, everyone. So in that kingdom, everyone had fear of death, so they obey the rule made by the king and minister. And both king and minister were very happy, delighted by the success of their project. That whatever they wanted and whatever rule they made, everyone is obeying it. That means the rule was successfully applied. One day, a guru and his disciple arrived in the city. Guru, that is saint, and disciple is the follower of that saint. So they both come into city. It was a beautiful city. It was broad daylight. The sun was shining brightly, but there was no one about. The city was empty. Everyone was asleep. Not a mouse stirring in the morning. No one is awakened. And it was a bright sunlight day, but even not a mouse they could see running here and there. Even the cattle had been taught to sleep by day. Cattle, that means the cow and goat or buffalo, such kind of animal which are kept by the farmers. So they were also taught to sleep by day, otherwise they will, king and minister will punish them by death. So in this way, not only people, also the cattle, animals, birds were also taught to sleep by day and work at night. The two strangers were amazed by what they saw around them and wandered around town till evening, when suddenly the whole town woke up and went about its nightly business. Amazed, that means shocked and surprised. So now both the guru and disciple, who were stranger for that place, were amazed to see that, were shocked and surprised to see that no one is on the path. Everyone is sleeping in his house. So they were very shocked by that, and they wandered around town till evening. They wanted to see if they can find any man or any food or anything, but they couldn't find anything in the whole town. And it was evening when suddenly the whole town woke up and went about its nightly business. In the evening, everyone got up and started their work. The two men were hungry because they were wandering since morning. Now that the shops were open, they went to buy some groceries. To their astonishment, they found that everything cost the same. Astonishment, that is surprise. A single duddu, whether they bought a measure of rice or a bunch of bananas, it cost a duddu. Duddu, that is money in Kannada language. So only in 1 rupee they could get everything. Whether it is a measure of rice or a bunch of bananas, does not make any difference in the worth of these things, even not in quantity. So those two men were hungry now. They were tired after wandering whole town since morning, and now it was evening. And when they went in to the shops and they wanted to buy some groceries, when they found that everything in this shops cost only 1 duddu. The cost is same for everything. They were very surprised with that. The Guru and his disciple were delighted. They had never heard of anything like this. They could buy all the food they wanted for 1 rupee only. When they had cooked and eaten, the Guru realized that this was a kingdom of fools and it would not be a good idea for them to stay there. Now, at the beginning, they were very delighted that they can get everything in just one dudu, and they had a good food. But after eating the food, the Guru realized that this kingdom is of fools. This kingdom is ruled by fools, and they have no idea what they are doing, and it would not be good for them to stay there because no one knows what they can do next. The rules they made had no logic, and if someone is making such illogical, stupid, idiot rules, that means they are not intelligent and they cannot do a proper justice. So it is not good for them to stay there. And the Guru said, "This is no place for us, let's go," he said to his disciple. But the disciple didn't want to leave the place. Everything was cheap here. All he wanted was good, cheap food. The Guru said, "They are all fools. This won't last very long, and you can't tell what they do to you next." That means it is not safe for us to stay here because the rules they have made have no logic and they all are fools, and this fool kingdom won't last very long. And you even cannot say what they can do to you next. Without any logic, if they can make such rules, they can punish anyone without any logic again. So you cannot predict, you cannot think about their next step because they are doing with everything with nonsense only. They have no sense, they have no reason, they have no logic. So when there the kingdom is ruled by such idiot king and ministers, there is no meaning to stay there. It is not safe for us to stay there because they cannot make decision with their intelligence, and the decision made by them are nothing but nonsense. So it is not safe for us to stay here. We should leave the place. But the disciple did not want to leave that place because everything was cheap there, and all he wanted was a good cheap food. So just for the sake of food, he stayed there. But the disciple wouldn't listen to the Guru's wisdom. He wanted to stay. The Guru finally gave up and said, "Do what you want, I'm going," and left. The disciple stayed on, ate his fill every day, bananas and ghee and rice and wheat, and grew fat like a street side sacred bull. The Guru was clever, but the disciple was not that wise, and he just wanted to get the cheap good food. So the Guru warned him to leave that place because that place was not safe for them. But the disciple didn't agree with the Guru and he stayed there. And finally, Guru gave up and said that do whatever you want to do. I'm leaving because I don't want to be in any kind of trouble by living in this place. So he left that place, but the disciple stayed there and he enjoyed eating the cheap, good food. And he used to fill his stomach with everything every day. He ate a lot, and whatever he got, banana, ghee, rice, wheat, it just all cost one to do. So he filled his stomach with delicious food every day, and by eating a lot, he grew fat like a street side sacred bull. One bright day, a thief broke into a rich merchant's house. He had made a hole in the wall and sneaked in. And as he was carrying out his loot, the wall of the old house collapsed on his head and killed him on the spot. Now, in the day, because during the day everyone used to sleep, the thief broke into a rich merchant's house. He broke the wall and entered in it secretly and quietly. And as he was carrying out his loot, when he was coming out of the house, that wall was weak and it was old, and the old house collapsed on his head. It fall down on its head and killed that uh, thief on the spot. So when that thief was taking the stolen things out from that house, that wall broke down and it collapsed on the head of that thief, and the thief died on the spot. His brother ran to the king and complained, "Your Highness, when my brother was pursuing his ancient trade, a wall fell on him and killed him. This merchant is to blame. He should have built a good, strong wall. You must punish the wrongdoer and compensate the family for this justice." Now, the brother of that thief came to the king and complained that because of this weak old wall, my brother had died who was pursuing his ancient trade. Ancient trade, that refers to the theft here. The thief was doing the theft, and it was his ancient trade. That means even his ancestors used to do the same thing. So they were also thief, and when he went for the robbery or for stealing the things, then the wall fell on him and killed him, and the merchant is to be blamed. He was right, he was doing his ancient trade, but the merchant is wrong because he built a weak and the wall was not good. So that is why that wall fell on that thief who was innocent completely, and that wall killed that thief. You must punish the wrongdoer and compensate the family for this injustice. So he was very clever, and even after the death of his brother, he wanted to earn something. He wanted to get benefit from that also. So he wanted the compensation for the death of that thief. And he went to the fool king and minister. The king said, "Justice will be done, don't worry," and at once summoned the owner of the house. When the merchant arrived, the king questioned him, "What's your name?" Such and such, your highness." So here the exact name is not mentioned because it is not important. So something was his name which he mentioned. Summoned, that means to call upon someone. So he was. So the owner of the house, the merchant, was called in the darbar, and when that merchant arrived, the king questioned him, "What is your name?" And he told his name. "Were you at home when the dead man burgled your house?" "Yes, my lord. He broke in and the wall was weak. It fell on him." Now think, one thing was there, that the king had made the rule that no one will be awaking in the day, and everyone will be asleep during the day, and in the evening they will start their work, while the thief entered in that house in the morning, but he did not punish the thief because he was already died. And now he he didn't think about his rule. He just listened to what his brother said, and then he started his investigation on that basis only. He didn't have his own mind and intelligence uh, to see the thing and to see different aspect of that thing. So now, as the brother of that thief said that the merchant is to be punished, the king called him and asked him where you were there in the house when that burglar came into your house. So he replied that yes, and I was there when when the wall broke on him, and he was killed under that wall. The accused pleads guilty. Your wall killed this man's brother. You have murdered a man. We have to punish you. Now, it was not his plan to build a weak wall which was old, and it was not his plan that when a burglar will enter in my house, that wall will break down and the burglar will die. So he was innocent, but according to the king, as the wall belonged to this merchant, the merchant was guilty. Now the king says the merchant is accused, and he admit that he is guilty. And the king found that merchant is guilty because that weak wall belonged to him, and because of him the innocent man was killed, and he had murdered that man. That is why he will be punished. See the logic. Because that wall belonged to that merchant was the killer. Lord, said the helpless merchant, I didn't put up the wall. It's really the fault of the man who built the wall. Now they knew that the king is not intelligent. So they just wanted to save themselves, and they pass on the blame to one another. So just to save himself, he blamed the bricklayer. And he said that it is not my fault, it is the fault of the man who built the wall. He didn't build it right. You should punish him. Who is that? My lord, this wall was built in my father's time. I know the man. He is an old man now. He lives nearby. So he said that after passing the blame, he says that I will bring that man to you. I know that man, and he lives nearby. Now he is an old man because that wall was built in my father's time. The king sent out messengers to bring in the bricklayer who had built the wall. Bricklayer, that is a person who lays the brick and build the wall. They brought him tied hand and foot. Now the messengers of that king brought that bricklayer into the court, and they tied his hand and foot. You there, did you build this man's wall in his father's time? Yes, my lord, I did. What kind of wall is this that you built? It has fallen on a poor man and killed him. You have murdered him. We have to punish you by death. So again, as the merchant passed on the blame to the bricklayer, the king decided that bricklayer was guilty, and he said that as you have built this wall, now because of you, that you build that wall, the wall you built was weak, and because of you, the wall fall down on a poor man who was innocent and kill that man. So that is why you are guilty and we have to punish you by death. Before the king could order the execution, the poor bricklayer pleaded, he requested, "Please listen to me before you give your order. It's true, I built this wall, and it was no good, I know. But that was because my mind was not on it." Now, again, he also knew that king and ministers are fool. So, they wanted to save themselves and they again pass on the blame. How he passed on the blame? He says that I know that this wall was built by me and this wall was no good. I had to build a strong wall, but this wall was not strong, it was a weak wall, and because of this weak wall, that wall broke down and fall on that man and he uh, got killed. But it was not my fault that I built this weak wall. It was no good because of my mind was not in it. Now where his mind was. I remember very well a dancing girl who was going up and down that street all day with her anklets jingling, and I couldn't keep my eyes on my mind on the wall I was building. "You must get that dancing girl. I know where she lives." Now again he passed on the blame to that dancing girl who had no relation with that wall. She was just doing her work. And his mind was not on his work but on the dancing girl. So he says that because my mind was not on my work and my mind was diverted by the dancing girl, so that dancing girl should be blamed because she was going up and down that street for all day with her anklets jingling. So, because of that sound and because of her beauty, my mind was diverted and my whole concentration was on the dancing girl, and I couldn't build that wall properly. That is why a weak wall was built and that wall fell on that poor man. So my mind was diverted by that dancing girl. Because of that, I couldn't build the strong wall. So that dancing girl should be blamed. Now I know where she lives. Yeah, right. The case deepens. Now this case is going deep and deep. We must look into it. It is not easy to judge such complicated case. Let's get that dancer, wherever she is. The dancing girl, now an old woman, came trembling to the court. "Did you walk up and down that street many years ago?" While this poor man was building a wall. Again, that man became poor. "Did you see him?" So, here you can see that he has no sense or no logic to count that who is guilty or who is not guilty. He just do what other people say without getting any reason for anything. So he had no intelligence and no sense. And he was just doing according to the words of other people. So as the bricklayer passed on the blame to the uh, dancing girl, which has no relation with that wall or with the killing of that thief. Now the king says, the case is going deeper and deeper. Now we have to see into it, we have to look into it, and we have to see the deep roots of this case. This case is very complicated, and we are we are finding very difficulties in finding the real culprit of this case. So let's get that dancer wherever she is. Call her. Now the dancing girl came, and she was an old woman now, and she came trembling in the court. And the king asked, "Did you walk up and down that street many years ago while this poor man was building a wall? Did you see him?" "Yes, my lord, I remember it very well." "So you did walk up and down with your anklets jingling." Now, if she is wearing anklets, it will jingle, obviously, and as she is dancer, she will adorn herself. "You were young and you distracted him. It was her fault that she was young and beautiful. So he built a bad wall. It was not the fault of that bricklayer that uh, he rather than concentrating on his work, he was concentrating on that uh, dancing girl. But it was the fault of that dancing girl that she distracted him. It has fallen on a poor burglar and killed him. That burglar was again poor. So he was innocent, that bricklayer was innocent, that merchant was innocent, and by passing on the blame, it came to that dancing girl. So he says that you have killed an innocent man and you will have to be punished because of your sound of anklets, because of the jingling sound of your anklets, and because of you when you were walking up and down that street. You distracted that bricklayer. That is why that bricklayer built a weak wall, which was no good, and that wall fell upon the poor burglar and killed him. So you distracted that bricklayer, so that is why you are culprit and you have to be punished. So indirectly because of you that man died, so you have to be punished. She thought for a minute and she said, "My lord, wait. I know. I know now why I was walking up and down that street. I had given some gold to the goldsmith to make some jewelry for me. He was a lazy scoundrel. He made so many excuses, said he would give it now and he would give it then, and so on all day. He made me walk up and down to his house a dozen times. Goldsmith is a person who makes ornaments out of gold, and scoundrel, that is dishonest person." So now she passed on the blame and she says that I was walking up and down the street, but it had a reason why I was walking on that street. That I had given some gold to the goldsmith to make some jewelry for me, and that dishonest man didn't give me those jewelries, and he continued making excuses that he will give it now or and he will give it then, and so on all day. He was making excuses only and he didn't give me my jewelry. For getting that jewelry, I had to walk up and down that street dozen times to his house. That was when this bricklayer saw me. It's not my fault, my lord. It's the damn goldsmith's fault. Poor thing, she is absolutely right, thought the king, weighing the evidence. He weighed the evidence. See, that fool is weighing. We have got the real culprit at last. Get the goldsmith wherever he is hiding at once. So finally, the king thought that we have reached to the end of this deep case, and the culprit is that goldsmith who didn't make the jewelry of this dancing girl on time, and because of that, that dancing girl had to walk up and down that street, and because of her jingling of anklets, that bricklayer was distracted and he didn't build that wall properly, and that wall was weak, which fell on the that poor thief. Now she said that when I was walking up and down to get my jewelry from that goldsmith, so during that time that bricklayer saw me. So it is not my fault that I distracted him. Because of that goldsmith, I had to walk up and down, and that is why he was distracted. So this all was done because of that goldsmith fault. So he is the culprit. Now the king again came in the words of that dancing girl, and he said that she is absolutely right. And after weighing the evidence, the reason given by that merchant, and after that bricklayer, and after this dancing girl, so the reason given by them, he thought that they all were correct, and they have the reason, that means they having right evidence for that. So after weighing the evidence, he said that we have got the real culprit at last, and finally the goldsmith is culprit. Get him inside the court wherever he is hiding at once. Just now I want that goldsmith in my court. Bring him wherever he is. The king's bailiffs searched for the goldsmith, who was hiding in a corner of his shop, when he heard the accusation against him. He got to know that they are coming to catch me. He had his own story to tell. Accusation, that means blame, and bailiffs, that is law officer who make sure that the decisions of a court are obeyed. So when that goldsmith came to know that the bailiffs or the lawman of that king to obey the decision made by king, they are coming towards me and they will catch me. So he was hiding in the corner of his shop. But they caught him and brought in the court. My lord, he said, I am a poor goldsmith. It's true I made this dancer come many times to my door. I gave her excuses because I couldn't finish making her jewelry before I finished the rich merchant's orders. Now he knew the whole incident which happened there. So he again wanted to save himself, and he also started making the blame transfer on other person. So now he said that I did so, but it was due to that I couldn't make her jewelry on time because I had to finish first the rich merchant's order. They had a wedding coming and they wouldn't wait. You know how impatient rich men are. I am a poor goldsmith. I didn't do anything, but it was all fault of that merchant who gave me those jewelry to build first, and then I could make the jewelry for this dancing girl. So as I couldn't make her jewelry on time, she had to walk up and down, and because of her, that bricklayer was distracted, and because of that, the wall he built was not strong and it fell on that thief. So in this way, the whole circle got round, and the real culprit was not the goldsmith but the merchant, because of whom he couldn't build the jewelry of that dancing girl on time. And he said that the merchant had a wedding in his house and he wouldn't wait. You know how impatient rich men are. So that is why I had to complete his work first, and then I could complete the work of that dancing girl. So as I couldn't complete that merchant's order first, and because of that I couldn't complete the order of the dancing girl also, and she had to walk up and down that street. So again, it was not my fault but the fault of that merchant. Who is this rich merchant who kept you from finishing this poor woman's jewelry? made her walk up and down, which distracted this bricklayer, which made a mess of his wall, which has now fallen on an innocent man and killed him. Can you name him? The goldsmith named the merchant, and he was none other than the original owner of the house, whose wall had fallen. Now justice had come full circle, thought the king back to the merchant when he was rudely summoned back to the court. He arrived crying, "It wasn't me, but my father who ordered the jewelry. He is dead. I am innocent." So now again the goldsmith passed on the blame to that merchant, and he knew that the whole case started from that merchant. And again he blamed that merchant, and he escaped from the blame. And now the merchant was called rudely by the king because he was the first culprit, and after passing on the blame on one another, finally it got full circle, and again it came to that merchant. And now that merchant was called rudely by the king into the court. And when he arrived there, he started crying that it was not my fault, but the wall and the jewelry both were made during my father's time, and this jewelry was ordered by my father. He is dead, and I am innocent. So, in this way, this game of passing the blame continued, and it came to a full circle, and again it came to where it started. So it started from that merchant, and it came back to that merchant, and that merchant was blamed finally. And now he had no one else to pass on the blame. So finally he was found the culprit, and he said that it was all the fault of my father, and now he is dead. So how can you punish anyone? And I am his son, but I have not done anything, nor I have built that wall, and nor I had given that jewelry to that goldsmith. So I am completely innocent. It was all the deed of my father, and he had already died. Now you cannot punish him you cannot punish him by death. So in this way, this game came to an end upon the merchant. Now finally we come to the end of the first part. Now king got the culprit. Now he will punish that culprit by death. What happens to that merchant, and how he solved this case, and what happens to this kingdom, that we will see in the next part. Now we will meet in the next video. Till then, take care of yourself and keep on studying. Thanks for being with me. See you.